Okay, our next story is called A Promise is a Promise. Written by Robert Munsch, written by Robert Munsch and Michael Kusugak, and illustrated by Vladyana Krikorka. To Julia Mukpa, Eskimo Point, Northwest Territories, who started the whole thing. Robert Munsch. To my sons Kilak, Kalak, and Arananyuk. Michael Kusugak. On the very first day of spring, Alashua said, I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go fishing in the ocean. I'm going to go fishing in the cracks in the ice. Ah, said her mother. Don't go fishing on the sea ice. Under the sea ice live Qualipilluit. They grab children who aren't with their parents. Don't go fishing in the ocean. Go fish in a lake. Right, said Alashua. I promise to go fishing in the lake and not in the ocean, and a promise is a promise. So Alashua set out like she was going to go to the lake near her house. But when she got to the end of the street, she didn't go to the lake. She walked down the long snowy path that led to the ocean. At the edge of the ocean were large cracks where the tide broke and jumbled the ice. Alashua looked very carefully and did not see any Qualipilluit. She said, on TV I have seen Santa Claus, fairy godmothers, and the Tooth Fairy, but never any Qualipilluit. I think my mother is wrong. But just in case her mother was right, Alashua stood beside the sea ice and yelled, Qualipilluit have dirty noses. Nothing happened. Alashua yelled, Qualipilluit smells like a dead whale in the summer. Nothing happened. Alashua walked right onto the sea ice and yelled as loud as she could, Qualipilluit can't catch me. Nothing happened. The only thing Alashua heard was the sound of snow blowing over ice. So Alashua got out her line and her hook. She walked over to a large crack in the ice and started to fish. Right away, a fish grabbed the hook and Alashua pulled it up. She caught 6 fish in a row. Alashua yelled, I am the best fisherman in the world. And from behind her, something said with a voice that sounded like snow blowing over ice, the best you may be, but the smartest you are not. Alashua turned around. There, between her and the shore, were the Qualipilluit. They looked at her and said, have you seen the child who said, Qualipilluit have dirty noses? Oh no, Qualipilluit, I have seen no such child, and besides, your noses are very pretty. Have you seen the child who said we smell like a dead whale in the summertime? Oh no, Qualipilluit, I have seen no such child, and besides, you smell very nice, just like flowers in the summer. Have you seen the child who yelled, Qualipilluit can't catch me? Oh no, Qualipilluit, I have seen no such child, and besides, my mother says that you can catch whatever you want to. Right, said the Qualipilluit, we catch whatever we want to, and what we want to catch right now is you. One grabbed Alashua by her feet and dragged her down under the sea ice to where the Qualipilluit live. The sea water stung Alashua's face like fire. Alashua held her breath, and the Qualipilluit gathered around her and sang with voices that sound like snow blowing over ice. Human child, ours to have, ours to hold. Forget your mother, forget your brother, ours to hold under the ice. Alashua let out her breath and yelled, my brothers and sisters, I'll bring them all to the sea ice. For a moment nothing happened, and then the Qualipilluit threw Alashua up out of the sea onto the cold wind of the ice and said, "A promise is a promise. Bring your brothers and sisters to the sea ice, and we will let you go." Alashua began to run up the long snow-covered path that led to her home. As she ran, her clothes started to freeze. She ran more and more slowly until she fell to the ground, and that is where Alashua's father found her, almost at the back door, frozen to the snow. Alashua's father gave a great yell, picked up Alashua and carried her inside. He tore off Alashua's icy clothes and put her to bed. Then the father and mother got under the covers and hugged Alashua till she got warm. After an hour, Alashua asked for some hot tea. She drank 10 cups of hot tea with lots of sugar and said, "I went to the cracks in the sea ice." Ah, said her family. "Not so smart." "I called the Qualipilluit nasty names." Ah, said her family. "Dumber still." I promised to take my brothers and sisters to the cracks in the sea ice. I promised to take them all to the Qualipilluit. Said her family. "A promise is a promise." Then her mother and father made some tea, and they sat and drank it and didn't say anything for a long time. From far down the snow-covered path that led to the sea, the Qualipilluit began calling, "A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise. A promise is a promise." The mother looked at her children and said, "I have an idea. Do exactly what I say. When I start dancing, all of you follow Alashua to the cracks in the sea ice." And the children all whispered to each other, why will our mother dance? This is not a happy time." Alashua's mother went out to the back door and yelled, "Qualipilluit, Qualipilluit, come and talk with me." And they did come right up out of the cracks of the sea ice. Up the long snow-covered path to the sea they came and stood by the back door. It was a most strange thing, for never before had the Qualipilluit left the ocean. The mother and father cried and yelled and asked for their children back, but the Qualipilluit said, "A promise is a promise." The mother and father begged and pleaded and asked for their children back, but the Qualipilluit said, "A promise is a promise." Finally, Alashua's mother said, "Qualipilluit, you have hearts of ice, but a promise is a promise. Come and join us while we say goodbye to our children." Everyone went inside. First the mother gave her children some bread. She said to the Qualipilluit, "This is not for you. This is not for you." But the Qualipilluit said, "We want some too. We want some too." The mother gave the Qualipilluit some bread, and they liked it a lot. Then the mother gave her children a piece of candy. She said to the Qualipilluit, This is not for you." But the Qualipilluit said, "We want some too." The mother gave the Qualipilluit some candy, and they liked it a lot. Then the father started to dance. He said to the Qualipilluit, "This is not for you." The Qualipilluit said, "We have never danced. We want to dance." And they all started to dance. First they danced slowly, and then they danced fast, and then they started to jump and yell and scream and dance a wild dance. The Qualipilluit liked the dancing so much that they forgot about the children. Finally, the mother started to dance, and when the children saw their mother dancing, they crawled out the back door and ran down the long snowy path that led to the cracks to the sea. They came back to the cracks in the sea ice, and Alashua whispered, "Qualipilluit, Qualipilluit, we are here." Nothing happened. Then all the children said, "Qualipilluit, Qualipilluit, we are here." Then all the children yelled as loud as they could, "Qualipilluit, Qualipilluit, we are here." Nothing happened, and they all went back to the land and sat on a large rock by the beach. 2 minutes later, the Qualipilluit ran screaming down the path and jumped into the cracks in the ice. Alashua stood up on the rock and said, "A promise is what you were given, and a promise is what you got. I brought my brothers and sisters to the sea ice, but you are not here. A promise is a promise. The Qualipilluit yelled and screamed and pounded the ice till it broke. They begged and pleaded and asked to have the children, but Alashua said, a promise is a promise. Then the Qualipilluit jumped down to the bottom of the sea and took their cracks with them, and the whole ocean became perfectly smooth. Then the mother and father came walking down the long snowy path of the ocean. They hugged and kissed each one of their children, even Alashua. The father looked at the flat ocean and said, we will go fishing here, for Qualipilluit have promised to never catch children with their parents, and a promise is a promise. Then they all did go fishing quite happily, except for Alashua. She had been too close to the Qualipilluit and could still hear them singing with voices that sounded like blowing snow. Human child, ours to have, ours to hold. Forget your mother, forget your brother, ours to hold under the ice. The end. A Qualipilluit is an imaginary Inuit creature, somewhat like a troll, that lives in Hudson Bay. It wears a woman's parka made of loon feathers and reportedly grabs children when they come too near cracks in the ice. The Inuit traditionally spend a lot of time on the sea ice, so the Qualipilluit were clearly invented as a means to help keep small children away from dangerous crevices. Michael Kusugak, thinking back to his childhood in the Arctic, made up a story about his own encounter with the Qualipilluit. He sent it to Robert Munsch, who had stayed with Michael's family while telling stories in the Rankin Inlet, Northwest Territories. A promise is a result of their collaboration. The end.